Welcome to the Goddess Conference Conversations. In this space, we will connect with interesting personalities, presenters and artists from our international community and chat about the upcoming conference's topics and themes.
Hello everybody to this beautiful day in Beltane time, and we have here Yuri Leitch, who is an amazing author and artist. He makes amazing art, and he is actually going to be the exhibition in the Goddess Conference this year. But he also has a lot of wisdom to share. So we're going to talk to Yori to see what is his idea of healing and what he's going to talk about in the conference. But first, I would like to ask you, Yuri, to give a little introduction of who you are and how you have come to be a presenter at the conference.
Since I was 14, I was reading stories about King Arthur and stuff, and Glastonbury entered my awareness at 14. I was not living in this area, I was in the Midlands of Britain. I saw a photograph of Glastonbury tour, and it was what I call mashed potato mountain, from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's this mystical hill that just grabs you. And to me, it was like something out of Lord of the Rings. And I was 19 years old when I finally came here. I managed to hitchhike here and sleep on a park bench and go up the tour. A long time ago, 36 years ago, but the tour had a hold on me from the very first time I saw a photograph. And then I did end up living here for 18 years, from 2001 to 2018. And it's been an obsession. So the mashed potato mountain, I've obsessed over the tour and local history and mythology. So
yes, because you've done a lot of research, I think, and you've written several books about Glastonbury, all kind of aspects of Glastonbury.
Yeah, different periods of history all have fascinating stories, whether it's the occult years of the Avalonians, 𝗛𝗏𝗹𝗏 and Catherine Malwood and people, or the medieval intrigues that were happening with King Arthur's grave, or even looking at the archaeology of the Iron Age Celtic people. And the Roman times.
Yes, and you're going to share in the Goddess Conference, you're going to share a little bit about your research of the well maidens. So yes. I'm very interested in to hear a little bit, not to do a complete talk, of course, but a little bit of who are the well maidens in Avalon?
So when I first heard about them, it was from Arthurian Holy Grail stories, but I'm now aware that it's quite global. And it's beyond the Arthurian stories, but as the Maidens of the Wells or the Well Maidens, it comes from a 12th century prose called the Elucidation, and it's a kind of prequel to the story of Sir Percival and the Holy Grail. So most people are aware of King Arthur and his knights looking for the Grail. They're not always aware why they're looking for the Grail. And the reason they're looking for the Grail is because the land is dying. It's become a wasteland. So they're looking for this Grail to try and heal the wasteland. These are big metaphoric healing motifs, really. The wasteland can be your own illness, as well as because the inner landscape and the outer landscape are one. If the inside's healthy, the outside's healthy. And if the inside's unhealthy, the outside's unhealthy. So the inner and outer are combined. So that's the kind of Arthurian story, but there's a backstory as to why there's a wasteland in the first place, and that's the Well Maiden story. So in an idealized past, when the land was healthy and vibrant, any traveller across the land could stop at sacred wells and the divine feminine of that place, so not quite human but fairy or otherworldly, these well maidens were the mystical guardians of the sacred wells. And so any traveller, pilgrim, knight on horseback in the stories could stop at the well maidens and be looked after, be refreshed, stay the night, and be healed if they needed it. So the story is then that utopian ideal came to an end. There was a bad king, I can't remember his name, and he raped one of the well maidens. Now, not only did he rape one of the well maidens, he encouraged his men to rape the other well maidens.
Yeah.
So there's this huge abuse of the divine feminine in the landscape. And the story says that because of this rape, and I quote from the elucidation, the well maidens took their golden bowls and left.
Mm.
And when they took their golden bowls and left, the land died, the wasteland. So it then gets Christianized into finding the Holy Grail, this cup to restore the golden cups that have gone, and to try and bring, from a medieval Christian perspective, only Christianity could heal the land. But the older story was the abuse of the divine feminine. So you could see that as patriarchy erasing the divine feminine. That is there in the stories. So that's the Arthurian bit. Now I'm aware the well maidens are everywhere. So even in Irish mythology, there's the story of 𝗚𝗏, and he rallies all the gods and goddesses together to fight against the forces of darkness, the Fomorians, and he asks different gods and goddesses what they can do to help in this battle against the darkness. And there's some witches, and they say, we will hide our bowls, our golden bowls, so that the Fomorians, when they come, they will not have water anywhere. They're actually not letting the incoming enemy have the sanctity of the land. And you go right back to Mesopotamia, and the goddess Inanna, or Ishtar, is depicted pouring water, and the two rivers of Mesopotamia are flowing from her vessel, so water maiden. And of course, when she descends into the other world, in the outer world, nothing will reproduce, nothing will grow. People are dying. So when Ishtar Inanna has gone and taken her cup, it's a wasteland. So they all the gods call for it to come back to restore life and fertility and stuff. Yes. So the Arthurian well maidens are a memory of the divine feminine of the land. And this is a bit rude, but in Northern Ireland, many place names translate as Maeve's vulva. Yeah. Maeve is Mab, Queen of the Fairies, if you like. So coinciding with Maeve's vulvas, which are water features in the landscape, so they're well maidens, Ireland has over 100 Sheila na gigs. So all of these churches with Sheila na gigs are going to be close to these springs and wells and waters, So even Sheila na gig or Queen Mab of the Fairies, it's that divine feminine and the life-giving water. Yeah. So it's that simple. Without fresh drinking water, it's nothing.
No, we are completely dependent. And when you say that, I think when we are in the chalice well, the waterfall that goes into the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃 is also very vulva shaped. Yes. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of resonance to what you are telling, because also it's like when the goddess is gone, is hidden or hides her treasure, then the land can't live. And it is very much that story of the healing of the patriarchal takeover of the land and not the honoring. So so in Ireland, before Christianity, that was acted out in a ceremony. Any would-be king would marry the sovereignty goddess of the land. Yeah. So that was the pagan way of the tribe or the chief of the tribe actually being in union with the land they were living on, a relationship, if you like, between humans and the fairy, that it was there. And she was the fairy, she was Mab, she and so on. So when St. Patrick brought Christianity to Ireland, that patriarchy put a stop to the sovereignty rights. So
it was all governed by the church, but in doing so, the feminine was erased.
Yeah.
You know, so that is there in the Well Maidens with the Irish stories as well. So some survived, like Bridget survived. She was too special to be forgotten, but she was turned into a saint.
Yeah.
But other goddesses like Maeve sexualized empowerment of the land, empowering of men, gone. You know, so Ireland has the phrase banshee, and a banshee is a horrible, scary ghost. You don't want to see a banshee. You know, it means your life's over, that kind of thing. It's good gaslighting and fear mongering from the church, because banshee just means woman spirit.
Yeah.
So any unnamed goddess is a banshee.
Yeah.
You know, so you're stopping the sovereignty rights, the sacred marriage. You're stopping that, and you're scaring people away from the woman spirit.
Yeah. So, but I know you talked about the wasteland of some. That's also reflecting in our human bodies, but also the healing of the land, and of course that is quite a big theme with the global climate emergency. So, how do you see the healing of the land through the Well Maidens? How would you see that?
I'm not clever enough to prescribe,
but on a mythological
intuition. There was recently I heard a phrase that every outer has an inner, and that really resonated with me. And also, by default, every inner has an outer. So there are philosophies like the outer world is an expression of your inner world. Those kind of ideas are well understood, but also that. I'll come back to the Irish sovereignty rights with that. So it's idealized, of course. I'm not a perfect example of it, but if you can find healing in your own inner landscape, that's the best you can do to fix the outer landscape. It's that simple. And if you're in a bad, negative environment, you're going to be toxic inside. That's simple. So you can start the gardening within yourself. So here's a thing then, this is from Irish sovereignty ceremony. The would-be king had 3 rules that he had to live by if he was to remain married to the goddess Maeve. And the first rule is you must not be fearful. So I translate that in the modern world, be peaceful. No stress, no anxiety, no worry, no fear, just be peaceful. It's hard.
Yes,
I'm not saying it's not easy to do, but this is about, are you there yet? And I'm not there yet.
No.
So this is an idealized thing. The second rule was, do not be cruel. So the King of Ireland must not be cruel.
They must be kind.
Must be kind. So you've got to be peaceful, you've got to be kind. And the third, very Ishtar sexual, if you like, hard for male ego, is the third one is you must never get jealous.
Yeah.
You know, so I translate that as be content with where you are, with what you're doing, be content. Don't think the grass is greener or she's with another lover or all of that. Just be content with you right now.
Yeah.
So here's the thing then, simplifying it. If you are not peaceful, kind or content, you're not sovereign over yourself. And if you're not sovereign over yourself, how can you be sovereign over anything?
Yeah.
So that's the wisdom of the Irish sovereignty ceremony.
Beautiful.
It's a utopian ideal that history is full of bad monarchs that are fearful, cruel and jealous and so on. But if you just take that as a teaching for you individually, and I'm not perfect, you know, but if you find yourself being fearful or thinking cruel thoughts or anger or not being content, you've got to stop and just come back to stillness, come back to be peaceful, be kind, be content. Then you're sovereign over your own chariot.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not sovereign over anything.
No.
So you don't have a relationship with the goddess of sovereignty.
Yes.
The goddess of the land. So within the outer world, there's the goddess of the land. Within you individually, there's your muse, you know, male or female, that muse within, your ideal love inside, is the personification of your sovereignty that you need to marry, sort of thing. So working within,
yes,
peaceful, kind.
Yeah, well, that's quite a healing journey to go on, and I think it's very much about the awareness, and as you say, you know, to stop yourself when you find yourself going into the unhealthy or the toxic behavior, especially.
And we can all see ourselves falling down the hill. Yes. Sometimes.
But I think that is also, there's a compassion. For me, water is very much linked through the stories of Bridget with compassion. So it is not like, it's not like I can't do better, but it's also to have compassion for your human self, and then try to do better. And that is the healing, I think.
And in all honesty, none of us are perfect, you know, but you can work on your gardening, can't you? You know, you can work on your pruning and work on gardening your inner landscape, really. David Bowie said that getting older is the strange process where you're always becoming the person you should have been.
Wow.
But that's that kind of, if you're learning by life's lessons, your garden is growing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's beautiful. Well, that's amazing. I like that. I like that as the end of a quote for everybody to think about. So thank you so much, Yuri. Yeah. And I look forward to hearing your talk, and I'm getting me more excited now. I'm so excited to have the exhibition. Yes. To be there for the whole 6 days. Wonderful. Yeah. And I managed to involve my 𝗚𝗏𝗪𝗏 stuff, so there'll be 20 paintings, one for each tree. Yeah, because you also told me before that you might have a tarot deck maybe ready by then. Hopefully, it'll be the 𝗚𝗏𝗪𝗏 Oracle deck. Yeah, because that's a whole story. Yeah. I think that's another interview, another podcast to talk about the healing aspects of the 𝗚𝗏𝗪𝗏. Just quickly then, with each of the trees, I see it a bit like flower essences and back flower remedies, and all of those flower essences help the individual with the internal gardening. Yes. It helps your psyche and your emotions. So it helps you find peace, kindness and contentment. You know, they work on the psychology rather than healing wounds as such. Yeah. It's all mind and heart stuff. Yeah, and I do like working with nature, working with the wisdom of the trees and the plants. That's what we're going to do as well. Yeah. That's also the inner gardening. I really like that. I'm gonna keep that as a phrase. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing more and seeing more of you at the Goddess Conference. Thank you, Marion.
This interview was conducted by Marion Brigantia.
Join us this year for the 29th Glastonbury Goddess Conference, a joyful gathering of goddess-loving people, a 6-day in-person event in Glastonbury, Avalon, running from Tuesday 30th of July to Sunday 4th of August 2024, with the fringe event starting from Sunday 28th of July. This year the theme is the Goddess of Healing. It's our maiden year, the first of a new 5-year cycle. International presenters, transformative workshops and experiences, deep ceremonies on the sacred land of Avalon, community, art, fun and love for Goddess. Let your healing journey begin this year. Join us for the Glastonbury Goddess Conference, Goddess of Healing. There are so many options to participate. Full conference tickets, weekend tickets, day tickets. Find what suits you best and get your ticket now at goddessconference.com. Blessed be.